Oh my God. Oh my God.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth?
Sir, that would be a 3 or 4 front war against Israel, the likes of which we have not seen since 1967 or even 1973.
Former Israeli diplomat to the U.S., Alon Pincus.
And most worrying is a coordinated, the so-called 360-degree attack. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iran from the east, the Houthis in western Yemen from the south, Hamas in both Gaza and the West Bank. So Israel will be encircled.
And where does America sit in all of this, and what should they be doing?
The last thing that America wants is a scenario in which they are dragged into the conflict.
We're also following breaking news from the Middle East tonight, where U.S. personnel have been injured after a suspected rocket attack hit Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq.
Today's attack comes amid growing fears of an all-out war in the Middle East, with Iran and its proxies threatening to strike back against Israel for the recent assassinations of senior Hamas and Hezbollah leaders.
Let's turn our attention now to northern Israel, where there's been a series of drones launched from southern Lebanon. They struck several areas, triggering air raid sirens. Explosions were heard in the coastal city of Nahariya.
This morning, Hezbollah launched a series of drone attacks into northern Israel, but the group, which is an ally of Hamas, warned that its retaliation for the assassination of one of its top commanders has yet to come.
I want to play a clip from the commander of the Iran Revolutionary Guard from just today, who put down a marker against Israel. Listen here.
They think by doing this, they've reached some success that helps them survive. They are digging their own grave, and they will gradually get themselves buried in these swamps and holes. When it receives a firm response, it will realize it has been wrong. They keep making miscalculations.
While this is happening, you have a brand new president in power in Iran.
Tensions have been climbing since Israel killed Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, which now include hints that American military targets could be on the table because they believe Washington gave the green light to the Israelis.
We believe that had it not been for the U.S. government's assistance, Israel would have never taken such a risk.
Most experts agree any response from Iran would be limited and proportional. But with so many proxy groups operating in the region, it could be difficult to keep the fighting contained.
But it is a troubling indication that the U.S. has not managed to stay out of direct engagement in this conflict, not just coming to Israel's defense, as we know U.S. officials have said that they will do, but to have to engage in counterstrikes now that its own interests may have been attacked.
But we know that we've been seeing, our forces go up against these Iranian proxies, but there's also Iranian-backed militia groups in both Iraq and Syria. Any speculation that they're responsible here?
Typically, they look at one particular group called Kataib Hezbollah. They're the group that has been prominently backed by Iran. They are the ones that were most responsible for the more than 170 attacks against U.S. personnel both in Iraq and Syria since last October.
This morning, several U.S. personnel injured after a rocket attack in Iraq. Officials say 2 missiles launched at Al-Assad Air Base. It follows a US strike near Baghdad last week, which targeted Iranian-backed militants who posed a threat to US and coalition forces, according to US officials.
All right, we are just getting word right now. In the past 24 hours, US Central Command forces successfully destroyed an Iranian-backed Houthi uncrewed aerial vehicle and 2 Iranian-backed Houthi anti-ship ballistic missiles launched from Houthi-controlled areas, presumably in Yemen, over the Red Sea. We don't know much more than that.
The Pentagon sending additional naval assets and a squadron of F-22 fighter jets to the region, hoping to defend against attacks that could come from proxy groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, or even Iran itself.
Iran's being very, very methodical about this.
Meanwhile, there is growing anger within Israel at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is accused of escalating the threat of a regional war. Protesters clashed with police in Tel Aviv, accusing Netanyahu of choosing violence over a hostage deal.
And remember, Iran launched an attack against Israel in April, firing more than 300 drones and missiles at this country. And while many were intercepted by coalition forces, the Israelis struck back against a very interesting target: air defense systems outside of Iran's nuclear facility, the largest one in the country. This was to send a message. The Israelis know exactly where they're developing their nuclear program, and it's in their sights.
That goes back to the question, why isn't Kamala Harris, why isn't Joe Biden, why aren't we hearing from them when you have all of this happening in the Middle East?
And we got a tweet picture.
Yeah, it was Selena Zito. She posted this, market down how many thousands of points since last Wednesday. The Middle East is at the brink of a war. Iran bombed our military base in Iraq. How is it okay that we haven't heard from the president? How is it that the White House correspondents aren't publicly calling for this?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Don't you want to do your job? Aren't you frustrated that you can't get any questions off? Don't you want to know why the flip-flops happened? But the same thing, there was no clamor for President Biden to do a press conference.
That's exactly right. Well,
until
we
create the terrible debate.
Information yesterday, we were teasing it on every program, that there was going to be this big national security meeting, that everybody was going to be meeting, the council was going to be in the bunker, really laying it out in the Situation Room. And I guess we assumed that there was going to be some type of public statement after. Absolutely nothing. No press conference, no red line for America. It looks like the only people that are getting the pressure is the Israelis right now, saying, just get a deal done.
We really hold our breath at the moment. It's very difficult to know what's going to happen here. And if the scenario you laid out comes to pass. Raised.
So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.